With the Carolina Panthers still on summer break and training camp 2 weeks away, there's burning questions on the offense. But would you believe that the major questions are on the defensive side of the ball?
I don't believe anything.
Don't smasher!
Well, those concerns might be as real as you think. Want to know where those concerns are? Find out next on Growlin' and Prowlin'. Welcome back, Panther Nation. Thank you so much for prowling around and growling with us here on another edition of Growlin' and Prowlin'. I am the one and only Mr. CeeLo here once again, prowling around with you guys and growling out until the regular season is set to begin. But we have training camp coming up in a couple of weeks, and there are some major concerns. But before we get to that, as always, you know how we set this thing up and do it. I have a little bit of housekeeping to do.
What?
And the way we do that, we want to give a great big growl out to my 3 new subscribers. And I unfortunately do not have their names. YouTube has done a phenomenally horrible job at
What a dumbass!
setting me up on these. So if any of you guys joined the Growlin' and Prowlin' family over the last 14 days, please hit me up and let me know. But let's get to Dennis, who commented on the new stadium project. When people evaluate players efficiently, they're not taking all the moves in totality. Losing Burns will be offset by Robinson and Clowney together. Well, Dennis, I don't want to be the bearer of bad news, but the reality of it is we've had some really good players on this team. And unfortunately, whether it's coaching staffs or just actual game planning, we haven't utilized it correctly. So with that being said, and it's going to lead to the conversation that we're going to have on tonight's show, I truly believe the evaluation is somewhat predicated on how you use them and how efficient you use them. However, I don't know if what we have on the roster is going to be efficient enough to get us where we need to be. I mean, the reality of it is, guys, we were a top-notch defensive team last year, and some of the statistics I'm going to give you guys tonight, you're not going to be very encouraged about what you're seeing and what we're looking forward to this season. But however, growl out to you, Dennis, for the comment. Frog43 commented, "Make it enough." You know, if you guys, as a reference to Friday, the movie Friday, where Smokey goes back in and his mom gives him $1 and says go down and get her some smokes, and she gives him $1, and he tells her this ain't enough. So, any of you guys watched that movie? It's a very funny movie. I love the analogy there, Frog. And of course, that's reference to did the Panthers do enough in the offseason at the receiver position? And a funny quote. This was 9 days ago that this quote was put up there. But yeah, honestly, I agree with you somewhat, Frog. But when you're dealing with a young quarterback, that's kind of a hard narrative to play, make it enough. I totally understand where you're coming from, and I think it's very funny that you did that. So I'm hoping that's what it was out of. Thank you so much for the comment, Frog, and keep them coming. But there's a disturbing thing I got to get from you guys. Now, we are approaching that 100 sub mark. But there are a lot of you guys that are watching that are not subscribed. So we need to change that. So, please go ahead and smash that sub so you can keep getting this growling and prowling content and also join the family. But I'm also working on a t-shirt design, guys, for our show. So as much as I love wearing and sporting the Carolina Panther colors and logo, we here at Growlin' and Prowlin' are trying to come up with our own thing. So I'm also open to designs. I'm also working on a design, but I also want you guys to be a part of the Growlin' and Prowlin' process as we continue to grow and do different things. Many of you have really embraced the show, and that is awesome. I will not forget you guys, but I also have to know who you are. I'm continuously trying to write you guys down into the GP family and keep up with you guys. But like I say, YouTube is not doing a great job in alerting me to who all are fans. I'm going to get a board and put you guys up there, and eventually I'm going to keep up with the number of comments that you guys make, and great comments. I try to, because eventually we're going to get big enough that I won't be able to read every comment on the air. I'll only be able to take select few ones that are really effective comments. So I want you guys, as well as me, I'm practicing behind the mic. I also want you guys to be practicing in the comment section. So you guys, when we go live or when we start doing this and that, we doing different projects, we can continuously move the conversation, and you guys can be a part of the show, a big part of the show, because you guys are a major part of the success of the show. But having said that, you guys, as you guys know, the title of tonight's show is, we know that there are concerns on the offense, but could the defense be the biggest concern?
Why don't you explain it to me?
I truly believe that there is a lot, let's not say a lot, there's a massive amount of truth to this. Because let's look at it from this standpoint, you guys. The Carolina Panthers put a lot of emphasis, if not major emphasis, on the offensive side of the ball. And the reality of it is a concern. I don't want to say necessarily a weakness. A concern for this defense was the pass rush last year. I mean, we haven't had a lot of problems in the secondary lately, other than J.C. Horn's health. Linebacking core was good, even when Shaq Thompson got hurt in that second game last year. I did think Coach Avero did a decent job. I'm not going to give him overly props, because Jeremy Chin should have been utilized, and then on top of that, he should have been brought back.
You fucking idiot.
Should have been brought back. This is going to hurt us. And this is where I believe, a lot of people are going to say Avero's probably going to be gone next year anyway, because he's going to get a head coaching job. To me, last year was one of the worst jobs that he could have done. And I know what people are going to say. Well, why do you say that? Well, because Jeremy Chin was not utilized effectively and efficiently. He could have made this defense better. And the reason why I say that is because his ability to tackle in open space as well as in space. He had one of the plays of the year last year, and I keep alluding to make plays of 2023. I know a lot of people are going to say, well, it's kind of late for that. No, it's never too late for that, because we're still going to be hungering for football. So I'm going to make that show. Jeremy Chin was a great blitzer, just like Louvu was. To me, the problem we had so much of last season was we did not get enough pressure. And this is going to be a problem this year. And I know what people are going to say. Avero's defense was very effective, considering the lack of pressure that we did get last year. Now, we can sit and we can look at the numbers and evaluate the numbers as much as we want. Burns was the guy with 8 sacks, but then you had Louvu. And the really tough part about last season is you Look at how efficient this defense was, and then you wonder, how is it we only ended up with 27 sacks last season? I don't want to sound negative, but it's really difficult to really be positive. I mean, it's so bad, guys, that it's such a rough off season that we're having to talk about Cam Newton not being invited to Christian McCaffrey's wedding.
Bruh.
What relevance does this have about a team that's possibly going to be short 2 pass rushers, or quarterback could possibly be playing in his last season in his second year? And we have questions at quarterback. To me, I'm like flabbergasted. I mean, I'm looking at this thing and I'm saying, we got deeper issues to write about or to discuss. CMC, as much love as I have for him, and I'm sure all you guys have for him, he's a 49er right now. Happy for you, CMC. Hope everything goes well in your marriage and your future endeavors with your wife. Cam Newton's not even on the roster anymore.
Bruh.
Sorry, and many of you guys know how I feel about Cam. That's a tale for another day. But we have to concern ourselves with the pass rush. And this is not looking very promising. It just isn't. And I mean, we can sit here, we can discuss this all night and all day. You're looking at Burns, 8 sacks, 5.5 with Luvu, Edos Gross Models, 4.5. That's 10 sacks gone from last season just in those 2 guys. And Derek Brown only had 2, but he had the defensive lineman record for total tackles in a season in 103. This is not looking good. And as you say, you see C.J. Henderson is gone. Deion Jones is gone. Both those guys had sacks. Jeremy Chin had a sack. And
Going.
I just don't know. I'm at a loss. I get it. Wanham is supposed to be a guy. Chason's supposed to be that guy. And, of course, Jadeveon Clowney. But you're asking a guy in Jadeveon Clowney whose best season was alongside a guy like Myles Garrett.
Run.
This goes back to the same old issue with Hassan Reddick, where Scott Fitterer, who, in my opinion, I will never say someone shouldn't deserve a job, but he does not. He doesn't need to ever be a GM again because he made too many fatal mistakes that you just look at and it's like,
Bruh.
no. But currently, as the roster stands, you guys, we've been the laughing stock in the NFL in sacks. And it's amazing that this defense has been able to hold up. But a lot of the reason is we were in the bottom third in pass attempts. And the reality of it is, you guys, we can't continuously live on the edge, especially if we're a team that is going to be challenged. Because when you get ahead, teams are going to be throwing the ball more. And looking at this system, and guys, I'm going to do a show eventually about why I think we messed up the running back situation. Listen, Jonathan Brooks may turn out to be a Hall of Famer. I am still a major Deontay Foreman fan.
So?
This is the guy we needed. And people are going to say, well, I'm not so sure about that. But the reality of it is, this was a guy we could have seriously used, you guys. And even then, looking at what we have as far as cap space. Okay, according to Over the Cap, the Panthers are near the bottom when it comes to actual cap space. Now, as I've said in numerous shows, we need to go to guys like Taylor Moton and see if they won't take a pay cut or maybe move that money down the line. And see if we cannot snatch up one of 2 players. Now, I know I've been talking about corners. I'm not supposed to be talking about corners, but you got to do one of 2 things. You either got to get that lockdown corner or you have to get that pass rusher. Now, I would prefer to go out and get a corner. But because really the Peckins are really slim as far as pass rushers. Most of your great pass rushers are either signed or they're retired. You know, you're talking about probably the best player that you have available. You tried the Melvin Ingram and the Justin Houston. These guys are just, there's no way to say it. They're just old. And the other guys that are really available aren't guys that really scare you. They really don't put a fear in your heart. And you do have Carl Lawson that's available. Ngakwe is available, who played for the Bears last season. I'm surprised that he hasn't been retained. You've got Emmanuel Ogbah, who played with the Dolphins last. Surprised, but not really surprised with the addition of Shaquille Barrett. But you had opportunities, and you didn't take advantage. Of course, Hassan Reddick being traded from the Eagles to the Jets. And as I said, you're going to have to go out and take a shot on somebody like Ngakwe. But I guess, or even Tyus Bowser, he's 29. You could take a shot there. I mean, he plays in darn near the same style defense that the Panthers are playing, except I think Baltimore is a little bit more aggressive than Coach Avero, which I would like to see more of. But outside of that, and I honestly think this is going to be a killer, but they're going to look back, scratch their heads, and wonder, why didn't we take Frankie Louvu up on his offer? That's where I'm at with this. They're going to look back at this and they're going to say, why didn't we take this? I get it. You were limited as far as money-wise, but you paid Jadeveon Clowney $10 million. Why could you have not offered that to Frankie Louvu? To me, Frankie Louvu is a much better pass rusher than Clowney is. Clowney has never shown himself to be a dominant pass rusher. And people will say, well, Louvu hasn't either. But then again, Louvu is much more of an all-around player. And when you do blitz Louvu, he gets home. He makes things happen. Clowney is that hit-or-miss type of player. And I'm not trying to be mean because Jadeveon's on our team now. But I still will never be able to understand the let go of Louvu. And not to mention, this is the one that really hit home with me. Eidos Gross Models. This is a guy that came into his own last season. It was like this system was not necessarily groomed for him, but it looked like he was starting to really fill in when he got healthy again. And he really started to take hold of his role. Then the season was over with. So that's my growing concern, and the amount of sacks that we were able to get last season. We were dead last, you guys, 29. And a lot of people can say, well, that's probably because we didn't have as many pass attempts as everybody else. That's part of it, but at the same time, you still have to get to the quarterback.
Damn, I'm good.
And that also entails, if we can get to the quarterback, that also creates that clock going off in the quarterback's head, which also can lead to errant throws. It helps your secondary out. And when you got guys like J.C. Horn who can lock guys down, they don't even look that way. They look to the other side where you can shade the coverage. Remember Josh Norman, guys? When you got a guy like a J.C. Horn who plays that efficiently in bump and run coverage, you have the ability as defensive backs to take more opportunities. My goal for Coach Avero is hopefully that he takes heed and says, okay, with these guys that I have to take more of a aggressive approach, because you've got Dane Jackson at the left-hand corner, and more than likely Xavier Woods and Jordan Fuller are going to be playing shaded more over to his side. Like I said, Troy Hill I'm not worried about. Hopefully we can see more blitzing out of him this season when we go into those nickel packages. That was what was so dangerous about having Jeremy Chin flipping out of the safety position. Jordan Fuller, I'm not necessarily saying that I'm not a big fan of, but it just... I think his numbers kind of, they're deceptive in a way. Especially with the way the safety position has been kind of devalued over the last couple of seasons. But as I said, I'm not really concerned about the secondary as much as I am the pass rush. As many of you know, DJ Wanham and Amari Barno are going to be bouncing, and possibly DJ Johnson are going to be bouncing back and forth from that other edge position. And then you have Jadeveon Clowney, as well as Clavon Chasen, who signed in free agency, who's had the ability. He was drafted as a premier pass rusher by the Jacksonville Jaguars, and that really did not, pan out. So hopefully with a fresh start, he can possibly become that they were hoping for. I would say not. I wouldn't back him up with Jadeveon Clowney. I wouldn't allow him to back up Jadeveon Clowney. I would more or less have him backing up DJ Wanham and put Amari Barno backing up Jadeveon Clowney, because Clowney's quick, but he's not nearly as fast as Barno. And he's the guy, if you guys have watched my show, he's a guy that I brag on. He's got freakish abilities. Go back and watch the Burns, the show that I did way back last season, entitled The Burner's Edge. It's actually the second show where I just talk about guys like DJ Johnson and Amari Barno in depth. He's got freakish abilities, guys, if you don't know. Even though he didn't have a sack last season, but I still see some greatness in this kid, and he still has the ability. He's got freakish size. But, guys, that's going to wrap us up for this edition of Growlin' and Prowlin'. You guys know how we do this. Make sure you go to the Facebook page and let us know what you're thinking. I have not put up a poll in a minute. I need to do that. Also, go to my Instagram at Mr. CeeLo, so you can find out the dealings that I'm doing there. And make sure you comment on the show. Let me know if there's any shows that you would like for me to do.